This mug is already broken. I'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah, that's good. Welcome to the Andy Fo podcast. I'm just going to timestamp this as Sunday, 6:58 a.m. Sounds like my kids are awake. They might come out anytime. But the reason why I say podcast is that I like that over the word vlog. I like the word podcast because it gives me a sort of idea of a time frame, of a schedule, which I'm going to do this once a week, preferably every Sunday morning, to give you guys like some updates, to answer some Q&As, which is what we're going to do today, to connect with you guys, share a bit of experience, mindset, some lessons. But to kind of touch back on this mug is already broken, I had a moment earlier this week. My son Marcus is 19 months old, and he's been amazing the past month, helping me make coffee. And it started out with him just pushing the coffee button on our automatic coffee maker. Then he upgraded to pushing on the power button, which is all the way in the back of the machine. To now, he's helping me get the mugs down from the shelf right above, put it down below, and go through the whole process. Eventually, he'll help me pour milk into there. I have two of these mugs. These were gifted to me and my wife a long time ago, and just the right size. It's 5 ounce. I just like the shape and the weight of it. I've been using this for a very long time. We have two of them. Had two of them because this past week he was on his way to get the mug, and instead of holding him on my right side, normally he's able to get the mug. I can close the cabinet on my left. He was on the opposite side, and I kind of had to like reach around him to close the cabinet. But on the way of doing that, I don't know if perhaps I kind of got in his peripheral, his eyesight, or it was just kind of out of what he wanted to do. He just kind of tossed my mug down onto the ground. Normally, in the past, I would say, I would have gotten very upset, or I probably would have shouted. There was none of that this time. It was just more so like an understanding of like, that's part of the process of like learning, of trying to teach somebody is that they're going to make mistakes. You may make a mistake. And one of the things that I've understood and tried to embody over time is this idea of like impermanence, that things just are always changing. Things don't last. And why I say this mug is already broken is that at some point, at some time, this mug will break. Even if it outlasts me, if I die first and this mug is still here and it gets passed on to somewhere else, this mug is going to deteriorate and break at some point. There's no reason to hold on to this attachment that this has to be here, this has to be pristine, the same, always available for me to use on demand. Because at some point it's going to drop, it's going to break, whether it's through my own fault or through somebody else's or through an act of nature. So we live with this idea, or I live with this idea of impermanence. And that when something does go wrong or doesn't go our way or it breaks, it's no longer working, it's no longer with us, or we're no longer with it, that's okay. What else could we have expected? And when I embody that idea, I'm no longer upset at the fact that something is broken or doesn't go my way. Or should I say, I'm not as upset, or I try to shorten that window through that reminder. And I believe the same thing is true with people. Here comes Luna. Good morning. When it comes to working with people, living with people, meeting people, in any form of relationship, right? Whether it's in passing, long-term, short-term, maintain that idea that it's going to be impermanent, right? At some point, someone's going to pass, or there's going to be a parting of ways, or there's going to be a change or a growth or a decline or just a separation or a misunderstanding. And that just gives you the opportunity to, number one, embrace this present moment or enjoy or hold dear that relationship. But things don't belong to us. Even though this mug is in my possession, it's in my house, I'm drinking from it right now. At some point, this is going to be gone. It doesn't belong to me. And the same thing with people, even my children, they don't belong to me. Like we, as parents, have to protect them. We have to guide them and lead them. But even if everyone grows to 100 years old, they're going to outlive us, right? So I have to, at some point, perhaps it's at the time of death, and this may be a really heavy topic for a podcast, but to just be able to be ready to let go so that we can appreciate the moments that we have right now. I think that's what this reminder of impermanence or of death or letting go or the ending of something, why that reminder is so powerful for me. And as simple as not being upset at my child, because what I would have done was perhaps yell, raise my voice, get angry, maybe perhaps be a little harsh with the kid, make them feel a little guilt. Has that happened to you before? That's probably happened to me. But we want to be able to like parent better. I want to, so I try not to do that. And again, it's through this big reminder. So even having someone working with you, right? One of our artists, Ashley, this was her last week working with us, and we've been working together for 2 years, and it was time for her. She wanted to part ways so that she can work on her own, to have this moment in her life, to have this growth. And it's a scary time, as it is for anyone who wants to leave the nest and do their own thing. But I knew that way before, even before 2 years ago, before she came to work with me. And I have that same feeling and understanding of anyone that works with me now and in the future. That when you're here for a period of time. And that period of time can be very brief. You're here to learn something, experience something, and you have plans to leave and hopefully go on and do better things. Or perhaps you have a change of career path. Or something happens between the relationships, or you want to just leave, or perhaps I may not want to operate the tattoo space anymore. Anything and everything can happen. But it's having that understanding. And I had this conversation with my friend Chris. And the conversation was along the topics of being a business owner. He owns a medical practice. I own a tattoo practice with other artists. And if you're in a business of working with people, this is perhaps something to think about. What I'm used to hearing, or what I think is pretty common, is you want to build people up, right? Grow them, teach them, nurture them, pour your energy into them, and keep them, right? Like, you put all this time and energy into somebody, like, you want them to stay. How could they leave? But over time, I thought about it and I was like, well, I think it's a good idea to just build people and let them go, right? They don't belong to us. Like, just teach them. Just help them out as much as you can, and then let them grow. Let them go. Let them grow and let them go, right? But then, after owning and operating a tattoo shop for the past few years, having artists and apprentices come on board and leave through all different reasons, I'm starting to feel like my approach now is just going to be let people go and build them up anyway, right? That idea of impermanence, that like, this mug is already broken. The people that are working with me are already gone. And when I can think about it in that way, and I know they may not be here for a certain period of time, it allows me to appreciate their presence more. It allows me to not be too attached while still caring and giving, to just build them up with great intention, with actually no intention, other than just the sake of sharing experience, knowledge, and building them up. The concept that I've heard before, and I believe this was through Ram Dass, is like the power of the sun. The sun generates so much energy, and human beings, plants, animals, earth, we all benefit from the sun, right? It gives us this energy to grow, to warm things up, to sustain life. Planets rotate around it. It's how we're able to live and experience this podcast together. But the sun doesn't do that with any expectation of something from us, from plants, from solar panels, from the earth, from the grass, from the trees. It just beams light and energy out for whoever wants it, whoever can receive it. It's just naturally giving. At some point, the sun may go out too, right? That's just the nature of stars. It's going to burn out one day. It's impermanent. To embody that nature, that philosophy, that you can just be a person, a being, an entity that just pours into other people and into life and share your experience and your knowledge. I think that's one of a core value that I'm starting to recognize and embody more of. So as we sit here today, as I'm enjoying my coffee on this Sunday morning, I gratefully hear my wife and the two kids in the bedroom. I get to go a little bit longer on this one. On Instagram, if you guys check out my Instagram feed, there's a channel section. Right now it's just currently called updates. I don't know if whenever you're watching this what it's called now. But it's a feature that's been out for a while. It's broadcast channels, and you can subscribe to it or follow it. And it's different than an Instagram post. It's different than an Instagram story because you have to subscribe to it. You have to want to see it, and it's in your inbox. And anytime that there's a, what do you call that? A prompt or a poll or an update from me, if you want to subscribe to it and get notification on it, it's there. It's very different than a story because a story disappears in 24 hours. This update pages, everything stays on there. It's different than a post because a post just kind of disappears over time. So I like this because it seems to be a way that I can stay connected and stay engaged. And one of the things that I did last week was I made a prompt. The prompt was, what topics do you want to hear about for the next podcast? So what I like to do is spend a bit of time going through a few of the questions, sharing a bit with you guys. And yeah, have this be a Q&A of sorts. So if you guys want to check out this broadcast channel, this updates page, would love for you to be able to follow it, engage, interact, and yeah, just kind of work through this. So anyways, I'll go through a couple of questions. And one of the things that Baki's one of my clients. We're doing an Albanian sleeve on him. I'm actually going to see him in New York in 2 weeks when I go over there to finish up the sleeve. His response was, core values that guide your decisions and actions. And prior to me talking about being like the sun and just giving and just building people up, already having let them go, just doing it for the sake of doing good, one of my core values that I have is we leave people in places better than we found them. So no matter what you do, where you go, who you interact with, we leave them better than we found them. And sometimes, let's go back a little bit. Whenever you get to interact with somebody, whenever you get to go to a place, whenever you do anything, put all you have into it, right? Why do anything half-ass? If you have to like sweep the floors, if you have to like scrub tattoo tubes, if you have to do a stencil, if you have to do the dishes, vacuum, clean the car, whatever it is, can you do it with all of your energy? If you go to a public restroom and you throw a paper towel out, it lands on the floor, do you leave it there or do you pick it up? If you splash water around the sink, whether it's at a restaurant, at a tattoo shop, or at a house, do you leave it there or do you wipe it up? When you go shopping for groceries, do you put your shopping cart back or not? Do you just leave it like right into the next parking stall? And the idea is like, you leave those places better than you found them. The people that you engage with, that you work with, that you live with, that you tattoo for? Can you have a life and an experience with them that leaves them better than you found them? And that doesn't always have to mean being nice or being kind or being polite. Sometimes you got to be like blunt and straightforward with people. And that may be the best thing for them, right? If you call people out on their bullshit, it may seem like it's a mean thing or it's a hurtful thing to do, but when you get to tell them the truth and they really needed to hear it, sometimes that's what it takes for them to change their lives and you leave them better. Sometimes parting ways in a relationship is better for both of you, right? It may not be a pleasant feeling. There may be feelings of like abandonment or even betrayal. But when you part ways with somebody, sometimes even through anger, sadness, frustration, you give them an opportunity to learn, to process, perhaps go through more experiences with other people, to reflect back, and maybe one day think, oh man, like I needed something from that experience, or I learned something from there. I think it's always important to do your best, not only to have good intentions, but take the right action so that you can live a life that is meaningful, that you feel has purpose, that is with love and with care. And it is not up to you on how that's received, but hopefully throughout time and experience, that person may understand where you're coming from. And I'm pausing because I kind of want to say the right things so I don't hurt any feelings. But I mean, that's just been my experience, just even working with my brother, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things of every time I open this part of me, right? And I think this is just an honest conversation. Me and my brother, we worked together for a long time. I mentor my tattoo artist. And after working for some time, just having different personal and business philosophies, we just parted ways. And it wasn't an amicable decision. It wasn't the most pleasant transition afterwards. Hurtful for both of us, but it's one of those things that throughout time, between the event, we get to continue to have experiences that allows us to like look at that experience and the experiences that we've had together from a different perspective. And hopefully that we both can continue to like work through it and grow and learn and understand. But it was one of those things of when I left, did I leave that place and those people better than I found them? The people that work with me, and I've had several people work with me and leave. I've had that same feeling of artists wanting to leave a tattoo shop. How does that feel? Right? There's a sense of like abandonment, feeling not worthy or not good enough, perhaps feeling like you've wasted time and energy. But that was bound to happen, right? To not want to like hold on to people and let them grow. And did we leave those people and places better than we found them? That's core value number one at Upside Tattoo. And that's a big core value that I carry with any relationship and any conversation that I have with people. Pretty heavy first question, but I think that relates to one of my experiences this week and just kind of a big realization of, again, about that idea of impermanence. The next one was with Viz Surreal 444. He asked about drive and motivation and avoiding burnout. I feel like that comes naturally when drive and motivation comes naturally when you're excited about what you're going to do. And I think this is big picture excitement. Let's talk about big picture excitement. Big picture excitement is I want to be a tattoo artist. I want to run a marathon. I want to raise a family. I want to live a good life. I want to open and have a successful business. Then you have these small moments of that, which is like, I don't like going out for a run in the cold, but I do enjoy doing it. So like we struggle to get through the challenging parts of this big picture that we're trying to work towards. And motivation is what I say is one of those things that are fleeting. Like you're going to have the big picture drive, this big goal, but some days you're not going to feel up to it. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel unmotivated. You're going to feel burned out. That's a separate part that I'll talk about. But that drive comes natural from like within you. Like, I need to have this kind of life. I need to have this kind of career. I need to be this type of person. And through the ups and the downs, you'll find your way through it because it's almost like embedded into who you are. You have to do these things. Even if someone told you, no, you can't do it. Like, I must find a way. Even if someone encouraged you to like, you don't need to go like run today, or like running is dumb. We'll switch to something else, and then you take a long break from it. You naturally find your way back to that thing because perhaps drive is, we would talk about that more as like your calling. Your calling is way bigger of a force than a motivation is. Motivation, I feel like, is like the short-term blocks to maybe keep you going, but you can still move with drive towards your calling without motivation. Then that's where the discipline comes in. The discipline to still wake up anyway and go for a run, to still wake up anyway and work on your art, to be a tattoo artist, to have this certain kind of life, to spend time anyways, to have the hard conversations with your family so that you can maintain a great family dynamic and have a deeper life, to spend time working on your business so that you can have a successful shop, So motivation is fleeting. Drive, I would link to like, that's what's innate. Perhaps is even your calling. It's something that you have to do. Now, with those two things, you're asking about burnout. Burnout is temporary. It may sometimes feel like a long period of time. But even for the big picture things, like I'm going to be the best tattoo artist. I need to do this. This is my calling. You can still be burned out from it for a short period of time or a long period of time. It may just be like 2 weeks I'm burnt out because I've worked 7 days straight for 12-hour days for a whole month. Burnout could be 2 years, you're just not thrilled or excited or challenged by it anymore. It can be all sorts of durations for this burnout. How to avoid it is different for every person. If you go back to the last podcast, we talked about time and energy management. I do believe that's one of the greater tools to utilize, which is to know like what gives you energy throughout the day, what takes it away. And the thing that you love, that fuels you, your drive and your calling, can be what fuels you, and it can be what drains your energy. So this is where you need to learn how to like manage that, which is like, is working 7 days a week too much? Yes, there's some short-term benefits from it. You get to execute and do more tattoos. You get to make more money. You get to have more clients. But perhaps the quality is going down. Perhaps you don't have time to design. Perhaps you are just unmotivated now, right? That fleeting feeling of motivation is gone. So there's this burnout, this feeling of like, I don't want to like pour my energy into like tattooing right now. And how long that lingers perhaps depends on like how long you've been carrying that feeling of like not being able to manage your energy well or your time well. So if you're starting to feel that burnout in any area of your life, I may feel burned out from like working out, I'm too sore, or I may feel burned out from like being around certain people for too long. Journal about it, right? Watch the last podcast, journal about it, break down your time blocks throughout the day and see like how can you better manage your time. It may just be setting boundaries, not only with people, but with tasks and with jobs and with fitness routines, right? Like what are you allowed to do? What are you giving yourself time and permission to do? Because you know that if you maintain this level of performance, or I don't want to say productivity because sometimes it becomes unproductive, it's not sustainable long term. I compare it to like if you're looking at a car and you're accelerating, right? Whenever you hit the accelerator, the RPMs goes up, and there's a point where it hits the red line. And how hard you press that accelerator determines like the speed, the power, how much you're revving up, how much energy you're putting into the forward momentum of your vehicle. And you've got enough gears in your car that you can go faster, go longer by maintaining lower RPMs. You're driving between like, maybe 2,000 to 3,000 RPM. If you can go between 1,500 and 2,000, it's very efficient. But there are periods of time where you need to rev up your car. Perhaps you need to pass somebody. You're trying to accelerate. You're going to rev up a little bit higher, 4,000, 5,000 RPM maybe. But once you hit that red line, hopefully you have another gear where you can shift up, the revs drop, and you can continue to accelerate. You can continue to drive more power, more energy so that you can go faster, hopefully further, for longer, right? And that's really energy management of the gas that's in your car, and you get to control that. If you redline it for too long, or if that's your top end, no more gears, you're redlining it, you can damage your engine, or you just can't go any faster. You're maxed out right there. Same thing is true in life, right? By managing your time and your energy, that's your gauge, right? And you get to learn like how much can I push with my wake up time? How much can I push with my fitness time? How much can I push with my art time? How much can I push in my current state of business, my business growth? And when you feel like you've maxed out or you're going to, or you can see where that's coming, you have to make adjustments, right? So if you're getting burned out in whatever area of your life, think about what kind of changes can I make? And it may be like hiring a coach. It could be a life coach, a fitness coach, a business coach, to show you a new way of doing things. It could be hiring people, right? Instead of you doing all the work within your business, you can hire someone to delegate and take some of the roles and responsibilities off your shoulders, so that's another gear, so that you can have more energy to brainstorm and be more creative and be more entrepreneurial. Or you can be more of an artist. Same thing if you're an artist. Like, well, how can I like add another gear to being an artist? Well, perhaps you hire a consultant. You hire somebody who does your DMs, your emails, your bookings, so that your clients get the full time and attention, and you have time and attention to just focus on your tattooing and your craft. Well, what happens after that? I feel like I'm still like burnt out, or I still need more time and energy. Perhaps you have someone now do your social media, to do your editing. There's different levels to wherever that you're at, that you can find a way to like offload some of the tasks that are not within your zone of genius, or not the things that you have to do. In your home life, well, you're already maxed out, let's say, on salary, your family is full, your household feels full, it feels almost unmanageable. There's a concept of like buying back your time. I've got a lawn, for example, and I don't know how long it takes to mow a lawn because I've never done it, but if I had to do it, it might take me 2-3 hours, maybe. I don't know. I've never done it, but also the landscaping and trimming trees and bushes, and how often do I have to do this? Is it once a week? Is it twice a week? How many times a month do I have to do the big tasks? Or how many times a year do I have to, trim my tree, whatever it is? And when when I can calculate my time and energy spent towards landscaping or pool maintenance, if I could pay somebody the money to do that, let's say it took me 2 hours every week or every 2 weeks to do that, is there something that I can do for 2 hours during that time to make that money back? Right? I know that I make more tattooing than it would take me to hire somebody to do landscaping. I know that I could probably buy some things online and resell them and make more money that way. I know that I can spend time working on a painting and sell it that way, making prints. I know that, there's, if you wanted to get into baking or create a YouTube channel, like some of these things have immediate returns on investment. Like you'll make more money immediately. Some things are like long-term investments where like you can spend that time and energy working on your business. And those 2 hours every 2 weeks is going to help you spend time and energy growing your business in a way that you might not have had it before. Same thing at home. Like if I have somebody doing the landscaping, I have 2 more hours every 2 weeks to perhaps play with my kids. One of the things I miss about living in New York City, they have laundromats everywhere, and you can drop your laundry bag, and it's maybe your laundry's like 15 to 20 pounds. And the laundromat that I had was like 90 cents a pound. They would wash, dry, and fold your laundry. I miss having that service because on my way to walk into the train to school, I would drop my laundry off, go to school, come back, pick it up. It's washed, dried, and folded, and I can just bring it back home. That extra time, that's 2 to 3 hours per week spending doing laundry, I had time to do other things, draw, hang out with my wife. So where is it that you can find ways to buy back your time? Where is it that you can better manage your time and energy so that you can avoid burnout, so that you can have more energy and motivation to work on your drive and to work on your calling? Sometimes your calling is just to work on your family life, your personal life, like that just may be the phase of your life that you're in right now. that you've got to take care of the everyday things, and until you can learn to manage what you have right now on your plate, only then will you have the time and energy and will you be allowed to do more things, right? It's kind of like whatever's on your plate now is what you've asked for. You've asked for this lifestyle that you're living. Can you manage it? And if you can manage it and you can dream or ask for more, you'll have the opportunity to dream and ask for more. But the opportunities are always there. Are you ready and willing to be able to take it on and run with it and manage it and be efficient with your time and energy? I'll do one more as I hear the kids. They're just about coming out. Justin makes stuff. Any mantras that may help you during challenging situations, reframing tough situations positively? I don't have any mantras, but one of the things that I'm constantly referring to, and Justin was in my mentorship program. Justin was on the Sunday burpees call we used to do. He was at Upside doing one of our tattoo workshops. So I got to get to know him and talk to him for quite a bit. But one of the things I talk about is the pause. The pause is when you just take a moment, you just take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out, and take a moment to respond rather than react to the situation. If you're in a tough situation, what you don't want to do is just react off of your nature, off of what has happened to you, off of your previous experience. Because likely it's not going to be a good one, right? If it's a tough situation and you haven't learned how to master your responses yet or how to better deal with that. Better thing to do is just pause and just think like, is this how I would like to respond? Is this the best situation? And we'll always respond or react with the best that we know at this time. But sometimes how we respond and react is not the greatest. So then we go, fuck, like I wish I did better. And then we just kind of think about it and unpack it, and like, it hasn't become natural for us, right? It hasn't been our instinct. For example, I have a hard time, or had a hard time, not being upset or frustrated with my kids when they would distract me or disturb me or interrupt me while I was doing something. I get very upset because I'm like, I'm trying to work on this thing, or it's very time sensitive and you're bothering me right now. You're interrupting me right now. And I would get upset and I would raise my voice or just kind of tell them to like go away or to give me time. Because I've never had kids before. I didn't know how to manage. I didn't really have anyone bothering me during a task, but that's just where I was. I would respond that way. My daughter would get upset, and I would just think about that later. I'm like, man, I didn't like the way that I responded. I didn't like the way I reacted. How do I do better next time? And the kids don't know. Even if you told them 100 times, Papa, can you do this? Can you help me? Like, can I watch? Can I do this? And it may happen now. But I learned to just like pause and like, all right, I feel a certain type of way. I see that she wants time and attention. I need time and attention to work in this thing. Based on my previous experience, if I can remember it enough, wait, I don't remember how to respond right now. Let me just pause, breathe. And even if she's still talking and she's chattering and she needs this thing and she's tapping me, I've just got to pause and wait and be like, hold on, wait. Or just, yes, I hear you. Can you give me a moment? Or can you let me finish this first? Or I just go help her and then come right back to the task. Sometimes it's always a possibility. But if you feel challenged, if you feel like you're in a tough situation, in a tough area, just take a moment to breathe, to pause. And my wife she's called me on that before, because we'll have a conversation. Even if I'm driving, I'll just like, it doesn't have to be so loud. Sometimes it's a little bit softer. Sometimes I won't respond yet. Sometimes it's better just to hold on, let me think about it. But it's better for me to just take a moment to pause. And if what I'm going to say is right for the moment, if it's the best that I would like to do and to say, then I'll say it. And it may not still be right. It may be still challenging. So then you'll have to you'll get a response. It may trigger you again. And I sometimes feel like, damn, did I not say the right thing? Like, I'm doing my best. And then it's like, oh, here we go again. Another tough, challenging situation, back to back. Pause again and just like, wait, let me think about what I'm going to say. So we're going to pause, breathe, think. And it's always creating that gap between the event and the response and reaction time. You don't want to take too long with it. I mean, some people need you know what, give me 2 days. I don't have the answer for it. This is very deep. This is very tough. Sometimes it just feels like I'm freezing completely because there's just so many thoughts running through my head. And then it's just like, hello, do you have a response for me? And I'm like, this is pretty heavy. I need some time. Or sometimes it's better just remove yourself from the situation. I'll share one more story about this. And this is a hard one for me because I would see my parents when I was growing up. And whenever they would get into a very heated argument, something serious, things were being thrown. And I remember a few things were brand new camcorders just being thrown on the floor, just out of rage and anger. Things being thrown into the 55-inch projection TV that we have. And that was just a way of to display or express a level of anger. And I don't think it was intentional. I don't think anyone really wants to break things, because when you do that, you look back later and you go, well, that was dumb. I worked so hard to make this money and to buy this thing. Now it's broken. In the very beginning of my relationship with my wife, I would do the same thing. She would say something to me about a situation, not necessarily between me and her, but she would bring a realization up. I'd be on the phone call, perhaps with my mom or with work, and I would have my phone, and I would just get off the phone, and I'd go, fuck, and I would throw my phone on the floor. She'd look, and she'd go why'd you do that? I was like, what do you mean, why? I'm pissed off. She goes, well, how do you feel? I was like, I still feel angry. She was like, your phone's broken now. I was like, yes, I know. You know you got to buy a new one, right? I was like, yeah. How do you feel? I was like, I kind of feel stupid now. I kind of feel stupid. And my wife was one of the first people. We got together when we were 18. We're going to be 37 this year. Almost half of our life, more than half of our lives we've been together. She was the first person to get me to question my reactions. And there's been several times where I would throw my phone afterwards too. Then I would find a soft place to throw it, on the bed. And maybe it would bounce and hit the wall. And for some reason, when it hit the wall, it would just feel better, or I would feel more. Then over time, I would just kind of toss my phone onto the bed. And over time, I'm just the fuck was that about? Then over time, I just I'm not even surprised that sometimes things don't work out a certain way. So it's just learning how to create that pause before you do something that's regrettable, something that you can't change. But if you haven't experienced it and you don't know how yet, you're going to spend time and experiences going through that to integrate the pause, to not respond out of habit from what you've seen, what you've experienced, and what you've currently been doing, to now thinking about what's the best version of me look like, and how do I make those changes so I don't do the same things that I used to do, so that I can act in accordance to the person that I want to become. Very hard, very difficult problem or tool to learn, but there's always an opportunity for it. Whenever you find yourself getting worked up, getting triggered, find that moment to pause and to think about it. I don't know how long this video has been going on, but I'm gonna end it right here. I believe that we all have an opportunity to do and to be better. we're perfect as we are as human beings, right? Like where you are, you couldn't have it any other way. Where you are in life, you're perfect where you're at for who you are at this time, but you can always be better. You can always do better. I encourage you to always look within and just think about what are the things within my life that I can change, that I can do better on, and craft your daily habits and your choices to become more and more aligned with that person. If you're having any trouble with that, shoot me a DM. Join this Instagram broadcast channel. I want to start using that a little bit more as a way to like engage a little bit more. So it's been pretty fun for me to use that. It's very different than even YouTube comments. But YouTube comments, I would love that as well, because again, it just helps me get more of this video out. So if you found if you found value out of this, if it sparked a little bit of something in you, or even if it triggered something in you, just think about that, right? Like my goal is to leave you better than you are today after watching this video. And you may not like some of the things that you're hearing, or maybe stirring up some strong emotions, but give your time to sit with it, journal about it, unpack it, unprocess it, and you yourself learn from that. If you found any of this helpful, please leave a comment, like this video, share it, subscribe it. Again, I want to continue to do these podcasts every week. So I'm looking forward to engaging with you. And the more that you engage, the more that you want to participate in this conversation, I'd love to be able to hear from you so that we can continue to do that. I love and appreciate you. I hope you love and appreciate yourself. Have an amazing day.